You're listening to CBC Online at cbchs.org.
CBC Online, we're visiting with the high school football analyst Jim Powers from Fox Sports Midwest. Jim, we got to talk about the 10-0 season. I mean, what do you, how difficult is it in this day and age to be 10-0?
It's very difficult, especially with the schedule that CBC played this year. You go to Fort Zumwalt West, open up and get a big victory there. Then you come back a couple weeks later, play Francis Howell. You go through the MCC schedule, and anytime you can go through MCC schedule and undefeated, regular season, you're doing something right. And that's been the great thing this year is CBC has done it, going on the road to play some quality opponents, but also taking care of their business here at CBC. That's huge. You get those home wins, that's great, but when you go on the road, steal a few here and there, that makes it even better. So 10-0 is very tough in this day and age, and especially with the state #1 ranking that came out last night for the regular season, that makes it even better, but it's been a great season for CBC.
We'll get to the offense in a minute, obviously scoring a lot of points, but let's talk about defense. I mean, CBC's held a lot of opponents to under 10 points, shutouts. One of the focuses of the season was to get that defense up there. What do you think? What are you seeing defensively from this team?
Game 1 scared the living bejesus out of me because when I saw that Zumwalt West put up 49, you kind of thought, okay, where is the cadet defense going to come around? You saw the defense come around over at the Dome against DeSmet, and it just really seems like they were flying to the ball, doing some great things, and especially to the tail end of the season here in the districts and limiting possessions and capitalizing on turnovers. And that's very big when you get into the state playoffs, is you can limit possessions and also take advantage of turnovers that you're able to create. But I tell you what, this defense has come a long way from week 1 against Zumwalt West, and that was really, really neat to see how this defense grew, because I was one of the skeptics early in the season just thinking, okay, does CBC have the defense to get to the Dome? And after this DeSmet game down at the Dome in the Great American Classic, I kind of figured it, yeah, CBC has what it takes to get to the Dome defensively.
So let's talk on the offensive side of the ball. We got, certainly people know about Dalton, but Antonio Brown, Jonathan Parker, some big meat up front. What do you see offensively from this team? Weapons,
weapons, more weapons. That's what CBC is all about. Dalton Demos, and I know I take a lot of flack from a lot of folks saying after last year that he was under the radar, not a lot of people were noticing him. I'm sorry, he still doesn't have a D1 offer yet. He's under the radar, under a lot of people's eyes, and coming into this year he's grown into be one of the top quarterbacks in the state. Over 2,100 yards passing, a lot of TDs. Then you talk about Antonio Brown, over 1,300 yards passing. Between the two, you've got over 3,300 yards in total offense and 43 touchdowns. That's telling you a lot right there. Jonathan Parker, you throw him into the mix as a guy that can be the go-to guy in case Antonio's being covered coming out of the backfield or he can't find a hole. Demos can check down and look at Jonathan Parker, and that's been the really cool thing about Demos this year is he does what a lot of quarterbacks in the area don't do in running the spread. They'll look to one, they'll look to their second progression, and then they'll turn and run. He has the knack to find that third receiver, and that's the thing that I just absolutely love about Dalton Demos, and just really done a great job in utilizing that number 3 guy and getting in the mix. That's why you see a lot of even balance in the receiving yardage for CBC this year.
Coach Bingle, got to talk about him. He's certainly kind of a quiet, unassuming guy, doesn't bring a lot of attention to himself, but getting the label as being a really creative offensive mind here in St. Louis area. What's your take?
He's got my vote for Coach of the Year. You're number 1. You run the schedule that CBC ran. He just has really brought CBC to the next level. Offensively, doing a lot of great things, and he's utilizing the kids in their best fashion that they can be utilized in, and that's been really cool. Watching him take a Dalton Demos who, he's taught how to pass, but also how to check down progressions, how to do different things. Antonio Brown, Jonathan Parker, showing those guys how to do it the right way and get them the ball. You got a lot of weapons. You got to have a coach that's got to figure out a way to keep everybody happy and get them the ball. And Scott's done just a great job with that. And like I said, when you talk about Coach of the Year honors and different things. Coach Pringle's got my vote right now because you really got to take for granted, number one, the schedule, number two, what they've done offensively, but three, a questionable defense coming into the season that right now has really ramped itself up to where they're playing great football.
And finally, how do you break this game down? Well, everybody's 0-0 at this point of the year. 10-0 doesn't matter. How do you break down this game against Hazelwood Central? We know them well, obviously.
Got to stop speed. You know, Hazelwood Central's young. They got a lot of, you know, the cover was bare after last year, but the bottom line is those kids can still play. And you've got to go after them just like you would taking care of your business. You can't have an off night. If you have an off night, you're going to be packing the pads and going home. But I know a lot of people here at CBC are really thinking, hey, we know we can make it to the Dome. I like this trek that CBC's got better than anybody else in the state right now in their quarter bracket. Obviously, you got McClure North down the line, and then you've got a rematch possibly with an MCC foe in either St. Louis U High or DeSmet possibly. So I like how the bracket's setting up for CBC. The bottom part of the state bracket is going to be a meat grinder. You got Rockhurst down there, you've got Zumwalt West, you've got Howell, you got Blue Springs South. Those guys are just going to knock each other around over the next 3 weeks. So CBC's got themselves in a nice little situation bracket-wise to where their tough game may be the semifinal.
And finally, what are you seeing around the state? I mean, you talked about the western side of the state. What do you see coming out of that bracket?
I'm excited to see a Rockhurst-Zumwalt West matchup. Jeff City getting knocked out, you know, and that's been the big talk, is Jeff City loses their last 2 games. They go 8-2 after being ranked number 1, and they don't even make the playoffs. Rockhurst-Zumwalt West is just going to be a knockdown drag-out. That game will be out in the western part of the state, so Zumi West is going to have to go out west to Rockhurst. But I tell you what, great ball game. If Jordan Walker plays for Rockhurst, I give them a little bit of an edge, but if he doesn't, I like what Drew Hare and the boys up at Zumwalt West can do. We very well could see an all St. Louis, all eastern part of the state championship this year.
And lastly, we're going to be able to see you on Fox Sports Midwest. They're streaming the games. Talk about that experience.
It's been a lot of fun. I mean, for some, you know, doing radio and they're turning a radio guy into a TV analyst, it's been really fun and very interesting. But, you know, taking what we do on our Friday nights on 590 and 1380 and partnering up with Fox Sports Midwest and doing the weekly show and then the live streaming of the games throughout the state, it's just a lot of fun. A lot of work, but it's been a lot of fun. And I'm just honored that they asked me to be a part of it. And you know, we're having a blast, and this is what we do. We do it for the kids, and it's great that Fox Sports Midwest has stepped up and really decided, hey, we want to make a push for high school sports. And we're going to carry this over not only to football, over to basketball, and hopefully doing some baseball as well. So it's a lot of fun working with the great folks at Midwest. And, you know, we're going to have some great high school coverage over the next 3 weeks and then turn it into a basketball season.
Good stuff. Jim Powers, you can see him on 590 The Fan, 1380, and again on Fox Sports Midwest. We'll see you next time.
Thanks so much.
CBC, Men for Tomorrow, Brothers for Life.